30,000 years ago, the universe was a very different place for humanity. Men and women lived in caves. They hunted animals with stones and sharp sticks. They painted on walls and feared the darkness of night. They had no idea that something was watching them from the sky. The Dominion was an empire that stretched across 10,000 star systems. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and enslaved dozens of species. When their scout ships found Earth, they were not impressed. The small blue planet had water and air and life, but the dominant species was primitive beyond measure. The observers watched humans struggle to make fire. They watched them run from predators. They recorded everything and sent their reports back to the. The decision came quickly. Earth was not worth conquering yet. The humans were too weak, too stupid, and too few in number to be useful as workers. But the planet had potential. In a few thousand years, maybe 10 or 20,000, the population would grow. The species might develop basic tools. Then they could be harvested. So they built a monitoring station in a hot, dry region that humans would one day call the Sahara. The station was massive, covering several square kilometers. It was filled with sensors and recording devices and automated systems designed to watch human development for. When the humans reached an acceptable level of usefulness, the station would send a signal. They would return, and Earth would become another resource in their endless empire. The station was buried deep underground to protect it from weather and time. They activated its systems, ran final checks, and then left Earth behind. They had 1,000 other worlds to conquer. One primitive planet full of cave dwellers was not worth their attention. That was 30,000 years ago. Now, a survey vessel called the Endless Tide dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the edge of Earth's solar system. Commander stood on the bridge with his hands clasped behind his back. His gray-scaled skin reflected the blue light of his console screens. His yellow eyes were calm and confident. This was a routine mission. He had done hundreds like it before. They lived for a very long time. Himself was over 800 years old. He remembered when the monitoring station on Earth had stopped sending signals. That was about 12,000 years ago. The Dominion had assumed it was a technical failure. Equipment breaks down over time. It was nothing to worry about. The humans were probably still throwing rocks at each other. Now the Dominion had finally sent a ship to check on their investment, expected to find a planet full of primitive creatures ready for harvesting. He expected to reactivate the monitoring station, collect 30,000 years of biological data, and report back that Earth was ready for conquest. Simple work for a simple mission. His science officer was a younger named, was only 200 years old and still eager to prove himself. He worked at his console with quick, nervous movements as the ship moved deeper into the solar system. Made a strange sound. It was something between confusion and fear. Turned to look at him. What is wrong? Commander, I am detecting unusual readings from the third planet. Unusual how? His claws moved across his controls. His scales had turned a lighter shade of gray, which meant he was stressed. There are artificial objects in orbit around the planet, thousands of them, and I am detecting organized radio signals on multiple frequencies. Walked closer to the science station. That is impossible, show me. The main changed to show Earth. The planet was beautiful, blue and white and green, just as the ancient records described. But something was very different. On the dark side of the planet, where night covered the land, there were lights, not scattered fires like primitive humans would make. These were vast networks of illumination that spread across entire continents. Cities. Massive cities that glowed like stars against the darkness. Felt something he had not felt in centuries. He felt uncertain. Scan for the monitoring station, he ordered. Obeyed, the results came back within seconds. The station is not responding to communication attempts. I am scanning the designated coordinates now. He paused. His scales turned even lighter. Commander, the station is gone. The entire area has been transformed. There is a human city built in that location. Population approximately 20 million. The bridge crew had gone silent. Every on the ship was staring at trying to understand what they were seeing. "This cannot be correct," said. "Check the coordinates again." "I have checked them 3 times, Commander. The monitoring station has been destroyed or buried, and the humans have built a civilization across the entire planet." Stood very still. In all his centuries of service, he had never seen anything like this. Primitive species did not develop this quickly. It should have taken them another 100,000 years to reach this level, maybe longer. They had studied thousands of worlds and thousands of species. This rate of advancement was unprecedented. "Scan their technology," commanded. "I want to know exactly what they have." Worked for several minutes. When he finished, his voice was barely above a whisper. "They have nuclear power, they have basic space travel, they have established colonies on their moon and on the 4th planet. They have orbital stations and satellites and a global communication network." He looked up at his commander with fear in his eyes. "Commander, they have weapons, significant weapons." Turned back to the blue planet hung in space, beautiful and dangerous. 30,000 years ago they had looked at Earth and seen nothing but animals. Now those animals had built cities that glowed in the darkness. They had reached for the stars. They had armed themselves. But was not worried. Not yet. They had conquered advanced species before. Human technology was still primitive compared to Dominion standards. One survey vessel could not conquer a planet, but it could certainly intimidate one. "Open a communication channel," ordered. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Let them know that their masters have returned." He did not know it yet, but that decision would change the fate of his entire species. Dr. Cole was drinking his 3rd cup of coffee when the alarm started. He worked at the United Nations Space Monitoring Center in Geneva, Switzerland. His job was to track satellites and space debris and watch for anything unusual in Earth's orbit. Most days were boring. Most days, nothing happened. This was not most days. Ran to the main control room where his colleague, Lieutenant, was already pulling up data on the largest screen. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking slightly as she typed. "What do we have?" asked. "Something just appeared near Jupiter," said. "It came out of nowhere. 1 second the space was empty, and the next second there was a massive object on our sensors." "How massive?" "Almost 2 kilometers long." Felt his stomach drop. No human spacecraft was anywhere near that size. No human spacecraft could appear out of nothing near Jupiter. "Is it moving?" "Yes, toward us fast." The news spread through official channels within minutes. Government leaders were woken from their sleep. Military commanders rushed to their posts. Scientists abandoned their research to stare at tracking data. Within 3 hours, every major nation on Earth knew that something was coming. Stayed at his station through the night. He watched the object cross the orbits of Mars and then Earth's moon. It was not slowing down. It was heading straight for their planet with purpose and confidence. By morning, the object was close enough to photograph. The images showed a ship unlike anything human engineers had ever designed. It was long and angular, covered in strange patterns and structures that served unknown purposes. It looked ancient and powerful and completely alien. Commander Santos was aboard the International Space Station when the ship entered Earth orbit. He floated near a window and watched it pass by in the distance. His heart was beating fast. His mouth was dry. In all of human history, people had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now had his answer. "Houston," he said into his communication device, "we have visual confirmation. The ship is real. We are not alone." The alien vessel stopped in high orbit above Earth. It hung there like a predator watching its prey. For 6 hours, nothing happened. The world waited. People gathered around televisions and computer screens. They held their breath and wondered what would come next. Then the message arrived. It came on every frequency at once. Radio stations around the world suddenly broadcast the same strange sounds. Televisions displayed the same alien symbols. Scientists worked desperately to decode the transmission. It took them less than an hour to create a basic translation. The alien language was structured and logical. It was designed to be understood. When the translation was complete, it was sent to every government on Earth. Read it on his screen in Geneva, read it over his shoulder. Neither of them spoke for a long time. The message said, "We are the Dominion. We claimed this planet 30,000 years ago. You exist because we allowed you to exist. You have 30 cycles to surrender your entire species for processing. If you do not surrender, you will be eliminated. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. You have been warned." The world went into chaos. Some people rioted in the streets. Others prayed in churches and temples and mosques. Governments held emergency meetings that lasted for days. Military forces went to their highest alert levels. Everyone was afraid. Everyone was uncertain. No one knew what to do. Did not leave the monitoring center. He slept on a couch in his office and ate whatever food he could find in the vending machines. He kept watching the alien ship. He kept hoping that someone would figure out how to respond. On the third day, the United Nations Security Council made a decision. They would attempt to communicate with They would ask for more time. They would try to understand what the aliens wanted and whether there was any way to avoid conflict. A response was transmitted to the alien ship. It was polite and careful. It asked for clarification. It requested a meeting. It expressed humanity's desire for peaceful contact. The response came within minutes. It was brief and cold. "You do not understand your position. You are not negotiating partners. You are property. Surrender or die. You now have 25 cycles remaining." In the monitoring center turned 2. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. "What do we do? How do we fight something like that?" Shook his head. He did not have an answer. The alien ship was massive and advanced. Humanity had nuclear weapons, but no one knew if those weapons would work against alien technology. They had fighter jets and missiles and soldiers, but everything they had was designed to fight other humans. No one had prepared for this. But somewhere in the desert, a team of scientists was about to find something that would change everything. Doctor had spent 20 years studying ancient human settlements in Africa. She was not interested in alien invasions. She was interested in pottery fragments and stone tools and the bones of people who had died thousands of years ago. When the alien ship arrived, she kept working. There was nothing she could do about problems in space. Her work was in the ground. Her team was using ground-penetrating radar to map a site in the Sahara Desert. The radar sent signals into the Earth and measured what bounced back. It was a common technique for finding buried structures without digging. On the 4th day after the alien arrival, S assistant called her over to look at something strange. The radar was showing a massive structure buried deep beneath the sand. It was far too large to be anything human. It was far too regular to be natural. And it was made of materials that the radar could not identify. Felt a chill run down her spine. She knew what this might be. "Get me a secure line to Geneva," she said. "I need to talk to someone at the United Nations right now." 12 hours later, was on a military aircraft flying toward Switzerland. In her bag was a hard drive containing all of her radar data. In her mind was a theory that she was almost afraid to speak out loud. The aliens had been here before. They had left something behind, and whatever they left might be the key to human survival, had never been inside the United Nations headquarters before. She had never met generals or prime ministers or scientists who advised world leaders. She was an archaeologist who spent most of her time covered in dust and dirt, carefully brushing sand away from ancient objects. Now she was standing in a room full of the most powerful people on Earth, and they were all looking at her. "Tell us what you found," said Secretary General. She was a calm woman with gray hair and steady eyes. She looked tired but focused, took a deep breath and activated the display screen behind her. Images appeared showing radar scans of the Sahara Desert. 3 days ago, my team detected a massive structure buried approximately 40 meters below the surface at a site in southern Algeria. The structure is over 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. It is made of materials that our instruments cannot identify. She changed the image to show a timeline. Based on the geological layers above the structure, I estimate it was buried approximately 30,000 years ago. This matches the aliens mentioned in their message. They said they claimed Earth 30,000 years ago. The room was silent. Everyone understood what she was suggesting. "You believe this is an alien base," said General Henderson. He was the American military representative, a large man with a serious face. "I believe this is the monitoring station they mentioned," said. "The aliens came to Earth when humans were still living in caves. They built this facility to watch us. They planned to return when we were developed enough to be useful to them. But something went wrong." "What went wrong?" asked Doctor, the Japanese scientific advisor. Showed another image. This one displayed the changing geography of the Sahara over thousands of years. 30,000 years ago, this region was very different. It had rivers and lakes and vegetation, but the climate changed. The area became a desert. Sand buried everything, including the alien facility. At some point, the station stopped functioning. It stopped sending signals back to the alien. "So they lost contact with their own base," said slowly. "They had no idea what was happening on Earth." "Exactly. They left expecting to find primitive humans when they returned. They did not know that we would develop so quickly. They did not know that we would build cities and technology and weapons. They are as surprised by us as we are by them." General Henderson leaned forward. "Can we access this facility? Can we learn anything useful from it?" Hesitated. "I do not know what condition the facility is in after 30,000 years. But if any of their technology is still intact, it could help us understand what we are facing." The decision was made within hours. A massive military and scientific operation was launched to excavate the alien base. Thousands of soldiers secured the area. Hundreds of scientists flew in from around the world. Heavy equipment was brought in to move sand faster than any archaeological dig in history. Led the excavation. She worked 18-hour days in the brutal desert heat. Her team found the outer walls of the facility on the second day. The material was unlike anything on Earth. It was harder than steel but lighter than aluminum. It did not rust or corrode despite being buried for. On the 5th day, they found an entrance. The door had been designed to open automatically, but its power source had died long ago. Engineers cut through it using plasma torches that took nearly 12 hours to penetrate the alien metal. When they finally broke through, was the first one inside. The interior of the base was dark and silent. Moved through the corridors with a flashlight in one hand and a camera in the other. Everything was covered in dust, but otherwise perfectly preserved. The aliens had built this place to last forever. She found a control room filled with consoles and screens. She found storage areas containing equipment she could not identify. She found what appeared to be living quarters with beds designed for bodies shaped differently than humans. And she found a library. The library was a room filled with data storage devices. They looked like small crystals arranged in neat rows on metal shelves. Thousands of them, each one potentially containing more information than every book ever written by humans. "This is it," whispered into her radio. "This is everything we need." The crystals were brought to the surface and transported to research facilities around the world. The best scientists on Earth worked together to decode them. It took 3 days to figure out how to access the data. It took another 2 days to begin translating it. What they found changed everything. The crystals contained technical specifications for technology. They contained star maps showing the locations of bases across the galaxy. They contained historical records describing the conquest of hundreds of worlds. And they contained something else, something that gave humanity hope. They were not invincible. Their technology was advanced, but it was not magic. It followed rules that human scientists could understand. Their weapons had weaknesses. Their shields had limits. Their ships could be damaged and destroyed. "We can fight them," General Henderson said as he reviewed the translated data. "Their technology is better than ours, but not by as much as we thought. And we have something they do not expect." "What is that?" asked. 30,000 years of human innovation. We took their basic concepts and improved them. We developed technologies they never imagined. Our computers are faster than theirs. Our materials are stronger. Our weapons are more precise." He smiled for the first time since the crisis began. "They think they are dealing with primitives. They have no idea what we have become." Around the world, factories began producing new weapons based on alien designs improved by human engineering. Existing military systems were upgraded with technology adapted from the crystals. A defense network was constructed in orbit, hidden from alien sensors using techniques learned from the buried base. Humanity had been given 30 cycles to surrender. They had used 15 of those cycles to prepare for war. The aliens had no idea what was coming. In Geneva, Cole watched the preparations with growing confidence. Beside him was coordinating communications between military forces across the planet. "Do you think we can win?" she asked. Thought about the question carefully. 2 weeks ago, he would have said no. The alien ship was huge and powerful and terrifying. But now he had seen what humans could do when they worked together. He had seen scientists solve impossible problems in days. He had seen enemies become allies in the face of a common threat. "I think," he said slowly, "that those aliens made a very big mistake. They gave us time to prepare, and they underestimated what humans can do when we are afraid." Above them, the alien ship waited in orbit. Commander was growing impatient. The primitives had not surrendered. They had not even responded to recent demands. They were stalling, and he did not understand why. He would understand soon enough. Commander stood on the bridge of the endless tide and watched the blue planet below. 28 cycles had passed since his ultimatum. The humans had not surrendered. They had sent messages asking for more time, requesting talks, making excuses. It was pathetic. It was insulting. It was exactly what primitive species always did when they realized they were doomed. "They are stalling," said from his science station. "They know they cannot defeat us. They are simply delaying the inevitable." Agreed, he had conquered dozens of worlds. The pattern was always the same. First came denial. Then came desperate attempts at negotiation. Then came acceptance. The humans were still in the negotiation phase. They needed to be shown that resistance was pointless. "Target one of their large coastal cities," commanded. "The one called San Francisco. Prepare a plasma bombardment. We will destroy it completely. That will encourage the others to cooperate." The weapons officer acknowledged the order. The endless tide adjusted its position in orbit. Plasma cannons that had burned through the defenses of 100 worlds powered up and aimed at the unsuspecting city below. "Fire," said. The plasma beam shot downward. It was beautiful in a terrible way, a stream of superheated energy that could melt mountains. Watched with satisfaction as it descended toward the human city. In seconds, millions of humans would die. The rest would learn to fear. The beam hit something 300 kilometers above the city. There was a flash of light, a burst of energy, and then nothing. The plasma dispersed harmlessly into space. The city below was untouched. Stared at the. He did not understand what he was seeing. "What happened?" he demanded. His claws were flying across his console. His scales had turned nearly white with shock. "They have a shield, an orbital defense barrier. It intercepted our attack." That is impossible. They do not have that technology. They do now, Commander. I am detecting a network of defense satellites around the entire planet. They were hidden from our sensors until they activated. The technology is based on designs, but it has been modified, improved. I do not recognize some of these configurations. Before could respond, alarms started sounding across the bridge. Red lights flashed. Warning messages filled every screen. Commander, we have incoming contacts. Many incoming contacts. The switch to a tactical display felt his heart stop. Ships were rising from Earth. Thousands of them. They were small compared to the endless tide, but they moved in organized formations with military precision. More ships were launching from the moon, from orbital stations, from places the sensors had not even detected. And they were all heading straight for the endless tide. "How do they have so many ships?" asked. His voice was quiet with disbelief. "They must have been building them in secret," said. "The designs are hybrid. Human engineering combined with technology. They adapted our systems. They improved them." Turned to his communications officer. "Contact the Dominion. Send an emergency message. Tell them we need reinforcements immediately." "I cannot, Commander. The humans are jamming our long-range communications. I cannot reach anyone outside this system." The first wave of human ships opened fire. On Earth, Cole watched the battle unfold on the largest screen in the monitoring center. Every military command post on the planet was linked together, sharing information in real time. For the first time in history, humanity was fighting as one. "First wave engaging," reported. "Our missiles are penetrating their outer shields. We are doing damage." "Casualties?" asked. 12 fighters lost so far, but we expected that. Our pilots knew the risks." In space, Captain Lisa Grant flew her fighter through a storm of energy weapons fire. She was 42 years old, a veteran pilot with over 3,000 flight hours. She had trained for this battle for 2 weeks. She had memorized every weakness in the alien ship. She knew exactly where to hit it. "Blue Squadron, follow me," she said into her helmet radio. "Target the rear engine section. That is where their shields are weakest." Her squadron of 12 fighters dove toward the endless tide. 3 of them were destroyed by defensive fire. The other 9 made it through. Lisa locked her weapons onto a specific point on the alien hull and fired everything she had. The missiles struck true. A section of the alien ship exploded outward. Atmosphere vented into space. Secondary explosions rippled along the hull. "Direct hit," Lisa reported. "Their rear engines are damaged. They are losing maneuverability." All across the battle, similar scenes were playing out. Human pilots sacrificed themselves to get close enough to strike. Human missiles found gaps in alien defenses. Human technology, built on foundations stolen from the buried base and improved by 30,000 years of innovation, proved more than equal to the challenge. On the endless tide, chaos had replaced order. Fires burned in multiple sections. Emergency bulkheads sealed off entire decks. The ship shook with every impact. "Shields failing," reported. "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. We have lost 40% of our weapons capability." Gripped the railing in front of him. This was not possible. One ship against an entire primitive planet should have been enough. They had conquered worlds far more advanced than this. They had never lost. Never. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." "Put it through." A human face appeared on the... It was a woman with brown hair and tired eyes. She looked calm. She looked almost sympathetic. "Commander," she said, "this is Doctor of Earth. I am the one who found your monitoring station. I am the one who unlocked your technology. I wanted you to understand what happened here." Said nothing. He just stared at the face of his enemy. 30,000 years ago, your people looked at us and saw animals," continued. "You saw creatures who could barely make fire. You left a station to watch us because you thought it would take us 100,000 years to become useful. You were wrong." She paused to let her words sink in. "We found your base. We studied it. We learned from it. Your technology became our technology, and then we made it better. You taught us that the universe is dangerous. You taught us that other species would come to conquer us, so we prepared. We built weapons. We built defenses. We became strong." Another explosion rocked the endless tide. The lights flickered. "Your ship is crippled," said. "Your weapons are failing. Your shields are down. You have two choices. You can surrender and be treated with dignity, or you can continue fighting and die. The choice is yours." Looked around his bridge. His crew was terrified. His ship was dying. He had come to this planet expecting to enslave primitives. Instead, he had found warriors. "How?" he asked. "How did you develop so quickly? No species has ever advanced this fast." Smiled slightly. "That is what makes us human. We adapt, we learn, we grow. When someone threatens us, we find a way to survive. When someone tries to put us in chains, we break free. You should have studied us more carefully. You should have known what we are capable of." The communication ended. The battle continued for 3 more hours. By the end, the endless tide was a burning wreck, barely able to maintain life support. Its weapons were destroyed. Its engines were dead. Its crew waited in silence for whatever would come next. Human shuttles approached the crippled ship. Boarding parties cut through airlocks and moved through smoke-filled corridors. They found on his bridge, standing alone among the bodies of his fallen crew. He did not resist when they took him prisoner. Humanity had won its first battle against the stars. The war lasted 11 hours and 23 minutes. When it ended, the endless tide was a broken shell drifting in orbit around Earth. Of its crew of 800, only 212 survived. They were brought down to the planet in human shuttles, confused and afraid and uncertain of their fate. Commander was separated from his crew and taken to a secure facility in Geneva. He was given food and water and medical care. His wounds were treated by human doctors who were curious about his biology but professional in their conduct. He was not beaten. He was not tortured. He was simply held and watched and questioned. This confused him more than anything else. They had conquered hundreds of species. They knew how defeated enemies were supposed to be treated. They were enslaved or executed or used for experiments. That was the natural order of things. The strong dominated the weak. The winners did whatever they wanted to the losers. This was how the universe worked. But the humans did not follow these rules. 2 weeks after the battle was brought before the United Nations General Assembly. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from every nation on Earth. Thousands of humans watched him as he was led to a platform in the center of the room. They did not shout or throw things. They did not call for his death. They simply watched with quiet, serious expressions. Secretary General stood at a podium above him. Her voice was calm and clear when she spoke. "Commander of the Dominion, you came to this planet with the intention of conquering our species. You threatened to destroy us. You attacked one of our cities. You killed 478 of our people in the battle that followed. These are facts that cannot be." Stood straight and looked up at her. He would not show fear. He would not beg. Whatever punishment these creatures had planned for him, he would face it with dignity. "By the laws of your own empire, we would be justified in executing you," continued. "We found your legal codes in the data crystals from your monitoring station. We know how to treat defeated enemies. Death, slavery, extinction. These are the options you give to the species you conquer." She paused and looked directly into his yellow eyes. "But we do not follow your laws, we follow our own." Waited for the killing blow. It did not come. "You will not be executed," said. "You will not be enslaved. You will not be tortured or experimented upon. These things are against our principles. We spent thousands of years learning that cruelty only creates more cruelty. We spent thousands of years learning that mercy is not weakness. We became strong enough to defeat you. Now we will show you that strength can exist alongside compassion." The assembly hall was completely silent. Every human in the room was watching. Every human on the planet was watching through cameras that broadcast the moment live around the world. "You and your surviving crew will be returned to your ship," announced. "We have repaired it enough to make it capable of travel. You will leave this system and return to your dominion, and you will deliver a message from the people of Earth." She lifted a document and read from it slowly. "To the Dominion and all species of the galaxy, the planet Earth is not a resource to be harvested. It is not a territory to be conquered. It is the home of humanity, a species that has earned its place among the stars through 30,000 years of struggle and growth. We did not ask for your attention. We did not seek your conflict. But when you threatened us, we defended ourselves. When you attacked us, we defeated you." Set down the document and spoke from her heart. "We do not want war. We do not want empire. We want only to live in peace and to explore the universe alongside other species who share these values. If the wish to meet with us as equals, we will welcome that conversation. If the wish to send more ships to conquer us, we will destroy them just as we destroyed this one. The choice belongs to you." She looked down at one final time. "Go home, Commander. Tell your leaders what you saw here. Tell them about the primitives who built a civilization while you were not watching. Tell them about the animals who defeated your warship. Tell them that Earth is protected. And tell them that humanity is no longer afraid of the dark." Was escorted from the assembly hall. His crew was gathered and returned to the endless tide, which human engineers had spent 2 weeks repairing. The ship was not fully restored, but it could travel. It could carry them back to space. Before he boarded the shuttle that would take him to orbit, turned to look at the human soldiers guarding him. They stood at attention with their weapons lowered. They were disciplined and professional. They had every reason to hate him, but their faces showed only quiet watchfulness. "I do not understand," you said. "We came to enslave you. We would have killed billions of your people without hesitation. Why do you show us mercy?" One of the soldiers, a young woman with short dark hair, answered him. "Because proving that we are stronger than you is easy. Proving that we are better than you is harder. But that is the challenge we choose." Had no response to this. He boarded the shuttle in silence. 3 days later, the endless tide limped out of Earth's solar system and began its long journey home. Stood on his damaged bridge and watched the blue planet shrink behind him. He had arrived expecting easy conquest. He was leaving with a warning that would shake the foundations of his entire civilization. On Earth, the celebrations lasted for weeks. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and survived. They had fought together as one species for the first time in history. Old enemies had become allies. Old divisions had been forgotten. The world was not perfect, but it was united in a way it had never been before. Doctor did not attend the celebrations. She was back in the Sahara working on the excavation of the alien base. There was still so much to learn, so much technology to study, so much history to uncover. Cole came to visit her 3 weeks after the battle. He found her sitting at the edge of a massive pit, looking down at the alien structures that had been hidden beneath the sand for 30,000 years. "You should be in Geneva," he said, sitting down beside her. "They want to give you medals, awards, probably name some buildings after you." Smiled but did not look away from the excavation. "I have work to do. This base contains knowledge that could advance human science by centuries. I cannot waste time at ceremonies." "You saved the world. You deserve some recognition." "I found some old technology buried in the desert. Thousands of engineers and scientists figured out how to use it. Millions of soldiers and pilots risked their lives to protect us. I was just one small part of something much bigger." Nodded, he understood. Was not interested in fame or glory. She was interested in truth, in knowledge, in understanding the universe and humanity's place in it. "What do you think happens next?" he asked. "They will not just forget about us. They will come back eventually, maybe with a bigger fleet." Finally looked at him. Her eyes were calm and confident. "Then we will be ready. We have their technology now. We have their knowledge, and we have something they never expected." "What is that?" "Each other." She gestured at the excavation below, where scientists from dozens of countries worked side by side. "For the first time in history, humanity is working together. We are building ships and weapons and defenses. We are exploring our own solar system. We are reaching for the stars." The thought they were watching primitive animals. They were actually watching the birth of a new power in the galaxy. Above them, the sky was vast and blue and filled with possibilities. Somewhere out there, the endless tide was carrying its defeated crew back to an empire that had never known defeat. Somewhere out there, a message was traveling that would change the balance of power in the universe. Earth was no longer alone. Earth was no longer afraid, and humanity was just getting started. The end.